Hi everyone, my name's Vigor, and today I'm going to show you how to beat the Fire Giant easily without cheese or summons. This boss is a lot easier than you might initially expect, and so because of that there's only a couple items we're actually going to grab here today. So first of all, I'm heading up to the shaded castle in the Altus Plateau to grab the Antspur Rapier. I don't have any Sights of Grace activated here, but this is where the Erdtree Gazing Hill would be. To the south of it is the Grand Lift of Dectus. It's pretty easy to find on the map. It's the big green spot, so that's easy to find. And we're going around the west side of the castle. To get the Antspur Rapier, we have to kill an NPC and get it off of her body. This NPC can be pretty tough to fight. First of all, you'll see she's in this area, and behind her is a golem that'll attack you. So it's important to lead her away from the golem. It'll aggro on you and follow you all the way over here, but it's slow. So you'll have enough time to kill her before it gets over to you. I used a straight sword with Storm Stomp. Storm Stomp is really good against NPCs because you get a nice little stun on them and it goes into a true combo, so you get guaranteed hits. But as you see here, I got bored of fighting her with the longsword, so I just switched over to a shield with a shield crash. I'll have a clip about that at the end of this video if you need to know where to get that shield in Ash of War.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
The Antspur Rapier has, I think, a 20 dex requirement to wield, so in case you can't meet that dex requirement, we're going to grab the Dex Knot Crystal Tear from Liurnia. That can be found on this little island just to the southwest of the Boil Prawn Shack. It's guarded by a bunch of Albinarics, so make sure you're careful about them because they can do surprising amounts of damage, especially in a group. But in this little basin is where the tier would be. I already had it. They see, like, that frostbite kicked my ass, and then, After that, we're heading to the Stillwater Cave, also found in Liurnia. As you can see, it's not far from the Boil Prawn Shack. Here's the pathway down from the Stormveil rear exit. It's right at the bottom of the cliff. I show this in, like, every video that I have. But there's where Stormveil is, and we're heading to the cave at the very bottom of this cliff here. As usual, this is a very easy and boring cave, so I just run through it. There's really not all that much to grab here, except for the Talisman at the end. We're getting the Winged Sword Insignia from the Cleanrot Knight. She kicked my ass a little bit. She wouldn't stop blocking. If you have something like a Scythe, or the Lucerne, or the Shodel, or an Ash of War like Impaling Thrust or Piercing Fang, those get what's called Shield Chip. They can do damage to an enemy through their block. So that's useful against her if you're running into that problem. But on death, she drops the Winged Sword Insignia. There's also the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia and Millicent's Prosthesis, but those require going to the Consecrated Snowfield to get. So I didn't show that in this guide because that area is harder than the Fire Giant, and I want this guide to be for anyone who is just at this point in the game without having any other major prerequisites beyond reaching the Fire Giant. Anyway, up next we're going to the Lakeside Crystal Cave in Liurnia. As you probably saw on the map, it's south and a little bit to the east of the Boil Prawn Shack. Just hug the cliff wall and you'll come across the cave entrance. It's not too hard to find. We don't actually need to kill the boss here. We're just going to run deep into the cave real quick, past all the demi-humans, and inside this chest we're going to grab the Spear Talisman, which is going to complement the Antspur Rapier really well. Up next, we're heading to the Swamp of Aeonia in Caelid. So this little fork in the road, that's where the map marker for this part of Caelid is. So that's where you can find it. And you'll see on the swamp, there's like this bend here and this little divot. Just go a little north of that. There's this scarab right here. It teleports away if you get close to it, so you have to attack it from range. So throwing pots or the jar cannon, ballista, whatever you got. Kill it and it drops the Poisonous Mist Ash of War. We're going to take that and put it on the Antspur Rapier, and we're going to use the Blood Infusion. So that way we build up Poison, Scarlet Rot, and Bleed on the Fire Giant. Finally, we're going to head to Stormveil Castle to grab the Hookclaws. So you can get here from, right after Gostock. I'm sure you've already been here. But we're going to go up the cliffside, into this room past the Exiles, down here in the corner, grab the Hookclaws. We're grabbing this because the Fire Giant is weak to slash damage, and it's very nice to have. Okay, so this part, I didn't actually end up using this item in the guide, but you might find this helpful if you want to use something else on the Antspur Rapier. Like I said, I was using Poisonous Mist on it, but you might also want to use like a Cold Infusion instead. So that way you're doing Frostbite buildup alongside Scarlet Rot buildup. But it's really nice to also have the poison in addition to that. So if we come to the Shaded Castle, there's this room over here after the second Site of Grace. Kill all the bad guys. There's a bunch of dogs and a fucking page and some sorcerers. But if you come up this ladder, in this chair, you can get the cookbook for the Poison Spraymist item. We're using Poison Spraymist specifically because unlike Poison Pots or other things like that, Poison Spraymist does even more damage than Scarlet Rot. There's actually different types of poison buildup. I'll put a link to the Fetch Your Life page in the description if you want to learn more. But there's different kinds of poison and Scarlet Rot, and Poison Spraymist does the most damage out of all of them, even more than Scarlet Rot. So we grabbed that cookbook from the Shaded Castle, and then it requires Miranda powder and perfume bottles to craft. So if you go to the Perfumer's Ruins, that's where you can get a couple bottles and some Miranda powder. And then if you come over here to the Perfumer's Grotto, there's a bunch of Miranda powder in there, and you can also farm it from the perfumers that are in there. And finally, it also requires Poison Bloom, so you can get that from the swamp underneath the village of the Albinaurics. Or I think inside the Shaded Castle too. There's a couple Poison Bloom plants that spawn here. But so if you use the Poisonous Mist, make sure that the Poison Spray Mist is what actually procs the poison on the giant. If something else, like the Rapier or whatever, procs poison, then it won't do Poison Spray Mist amounts of poison damage. So now we're about to get into the fight. Here I'm choosing my crystal tiers. I went with the Dex Knot tier because I recommend using that if you don't meet the Dex requirement for the Rapier. And then if you are a mage, or if you're using like a magic infusion, or if you're casting incantations and you can do lightning, or using a lightning infusion, the Fire Giant has 0 resistance to magic or lightning damage. So the Shrouding tiers for those would be really good if you're using that kind of damage. I'm not in this guide, so I just went with the Stamina Regen tier. Another tier I strongly recommend if you can get it is the Thorny Cracked tier. Again, I'm not using this because it requires going to the Consecrated Snowfield to get, but if you have it, it's very good. It stacks with the Winged Sword Insignia and with Millicent's Prosthesis. Up next is our equipment. I'm going to talk about my levels and stuff in a minute, but first I just want to go over the gear while it's on screen. In my main hand, I'm using the Antspur Rapier. I also have the Hookclaws as the secondary slot. So the Antspur Rapier, we've got Poisonous Mist with a blood infusion on it. On the Hookclaws, I used Endure. It's good if you're not sure if you can dodge an attack that the Fire Giant does, because it gives you like 50% damage resistance. I didn't end up using it in the fight, but it's good to have. Or you can use whatever Ash of War you want, really. And then on the Misery Cord, or any weapon, I've just got Golden Vow for the buff that it does. My talismans, so I have the Green Turtle Talisman for stamina regen. You can dodge more and sprint more, so that's nice. I've got the Twin Blade Talisman because I didn't know what else to put in that slot. You can use whatever talisman you want in that second slot. And then we've got the Winged Sword Insignia because it increases consecutive attack damage. The Antspur Rapier attacks really fast, and so it's nice for that. And we've got the Spear Talisman. What exactly the Spear Talisman does is a little complicated, so instead of explaining that here for 15 minutes, I'm going to put that down in the description. But just know that if you're using the Antspur Rapier, it's really good to use the Spear Talisman alongside it. So when we start the fight, before I cast any buffs, I get close to the Fire Giant so that they don't wear off before I have any time to attack him. As you just saw, if you're on Torrent, there's no way to dodge, but if you're standing still, when you dismount Torrent, you get invulnerability frames. So if he comes at you with an attack, just stand still and then get off Torrent, as if you were dodging. Cast any buffs that you might have, and then move in on him and hit him with Poison Spray Mist. Okay, so to dodge that attack, here's a slow-mo replay. When you see snow, right there, when you see snow start coming up, that's when you need to dodge. In this case, I did it by dismounting Torrent, but you can also jump it or roll it if you're on foot. And by the way, I recommend fighting the Fire Giant on foot. Fighting on Torrent sucks. So here I got a little cocky and I wasn't paying attention. That's just me, that's why I got hit there. That attack shouldn't be too hard to dodge. This one I almost got hit by, but I managed to not get owned by it. So you're going to want to attack his left foot, so that's the one that's on your right if you're facing towards him. It's the one that has the cast on it. It's his weak spot. Once his cast breaks, he goes into like phase 1.5 and he starts doing a couple extra moves. So in order to dodge the attack that you just saw, it's when his feet start coming down. You can watch his right foot, the one with the ring. As that's about to hit the ground, that's when you need to tap dodge. If you do it too early or too late, you're going to get hit. Same thing with this attack. You'll see here, he raises his foot up. When his foot comes down, that's when you dodge. Right there. As with anything in Elden Ring, if you die or if you get hit, don't get frustrated. It's a learning experience, and you're supposed to try and try again. That's how you get better at doing it. So now I broke his cast, and you can see here, I see his health is ticking like twice per second. So that's how I know he has both poison and scarlet rot on him. And so with both of those things procced, I'm going to pull out the claws and start attacking him with the bleed. When you break the cast, he'll roll away from you and pull fire out of the mouth on his chest. Usually he'll either cast Flame of the Fell God, which is this attack, or he'll shoot a fireball at you. Again, you saw there, snow comes up, that's when you tap the dodge button. The Flame of the Fell God fireball will follow you around, and when it gets close to you, it'll explode, or it also explodes after like 30 seconds or something like that. If you get close to it, you can run away from it to make it explode prematurely, so you don't have to worry about it. So you don't have to like kite it around the arena, hoping it doesn't hit you. You can like disarm it prematurely. Here you see his stomp attacks. They're the same thing as any other attack using his feet. Just dodge when you see it start coming down. Here he's doing his Pillars of Flame attack, but I took him out of the phase before he got it off. So we'll show you that later on in the video though. That one's really easy to deal with too. When he starts phase 2, he will almost always start off using his Pillars of Flame attack. So while he's doing that, you can cast any buffs that you've got. And then if you move in a bit closer to him afterwards, he does his Volcanic Eruption, but it's very rare for you to get hit if you're this close to him. Okay, so I lined my head up with his inner thigh, as you saw, and that way when his hand comes down afterwards, his hands are his weak spot in this phase. When his hand comes down afterwards, you can get a couple hits in. After that, I cast Poisonous Mist on him again. I'll do it on his legs because his hands moves around a lot, obviously, but his legs are pretty stationary. If he's suffering from rot or poison, when you start phase 2, it'll instantly cure him of that, so you have to proc it again. Now you saw there, he cast dual fireballs at me. So the way I usually dodge it is when I see the fireball spawn from his hand, that's when I dodge the first one, and then just immediately dodge again afterwards, and that'll let you dodge the second one. If he's too close or too far, that might not necessarily work, but it's fairly consistent for me at least. But that's another reason why you should have high vigor. And then you saw there the Flame of the Fell God. I get close to it, so it starts exploding, and then I run away, and it explodes without hitting me. Whenever he does like an attack where he slams his fist down, if you're close enough to him, after he does one fist, he will always do a follow-up where he slams down with his second fist. You're going to see it here in slow motion. So you saw he comes down with one hand, I dodge that as it's coming down, and then since I'm on the inside of where the hand is, or I'm within his range, he'll do a follow-up attack. So if you dodge out of range from the first hit, he won't do the follow-up, so don't get confused by that. If he's close enough to you, he will always do the follow-up attack. Here he dropped his People's Elbow. If you're next to his chest, you can hit him in his giant eye. Oh, so here, you see, to dodge the Pillars of Flames, just stand in the spot where there isn't fire. I could have gotten more hits on him, but I was trying to get a good shot for the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. Just stand where there isn't fire, and that attack won't hit you. So, when he does a roll, you see he's hitting the barrier at the edge of the arena, and so if he's too close to you after rolling, he will immediately roll again to try to get away from you. So don't follow him when he does a roll. Let him get his distance and finish his rolling sequence before you move in to start attacking him. Because if not, then he'll just keep rolling back and forth until he gets far enough away from you. I've had times in co-op where I've seen him roll 8 or 9 times in a row because he just keeps rolling in range of another player and he's too close to a player, so he wants to roll again. Something I haven't mentioned up to this point that I probably should have mentioned earlier, fight him unlocked. You don't want to be locked onto his hands, especially not in this phase of the fight. In the first phase, it's okay if you lock onto his foot, but in this phase, you don't want to be locked onto his hands because the camera angles really suck, and you need to be able to keep an eye on his body to see what he's doing so you can actually dodge his attacks. So, you know, you don't always want to be locked on in combat. You should learn to play unlocked if you don't have that skill. There I tried to use a glintstone scrap because he got far away from me. You really need to have a bunch of magic buffs going to make that worthwhile, so I didn't bother doing that. And if he casts his like flame breath attack, just get on torrent and run away. If you're in co-op when he does that, then you're probably going to die, so you know, keep that in mind. That would probably be a good time to use Endure, in fact, because, like I said, it gives you 50% damage resistance for like 3 seconds. So Endure is very, very good. Here, I'm going to mess up dodging these fireballs. I'm pretty sure I dodged too early by the looks of it, because you'll see here, it's going to hit me as I'm coming out of the roll, kind of. Right, I dodged way too early. So, you know, like I said, you're going to have to get used to dodging based on the distance when he casts that. But, again, that's more reason to have a bunch of Vigor. And look at that there, I had 1 health left. You know, that's why you need to raise your Vigor, so that you don't die, you know? Like, it's the first stat on your stat list because you're supposed to raise it. Anyway, I hope you found that helpful. If so, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more guides and gameplay videos, and I'll catch you later. So having come north from the Grand Lift of Dectus, I didn't show myself grabbing this Site of Grace here, but it's just north of the Grand Lift of Dectus. You see the Lux Ruins. There's a little shortcut you can take to go up. And then that Ash of War Scarab that you hear, it drops an Ash of War that we're going to need. If you get too close to this Scarab, it'll teleport away, so I like to come over here on top of this thing where the monkeys can't get me and just shoot a bow at it. So that Ash of War drops is called Shield Crash, which is a very nice Ash of War. So all the way at the north end of the Shifra River, as you see on the map, there is the deep Shifra River well, and that takes us up to an area where we can grab the spiked Palisade shield, which is just going to make our life a lot easier for the next couple of parts. So as you're going through here, I suggest you grab a couple graces, because the enemies here, especially those balls of light, can't get one from the Twin Maiden Husks or whatever. So I didn't grab it here, but there is a Stone Sword key there. Anyway, so it takes 2 keys to activate this even longer fucking elevator, and that takes us up here to Caelid. And then we're going to run up on this golem. Right underneath him is the spiked Palisade shield. This requires 30 strength to wield, so if you're going to two-hand it, you need to have at least 20 strength.